anyway, I made it back to. Everything was all good, except in Boston when I was driving to Winnebago. I think it was in Boston where at one point, I dropped the band at the club in what they call the Combat Zone, was the big nightclub area in Boston back then. And I dropped the band in front of this club, then I went to the corner and went around the corner looking for a parking space. And I remember trying to make a U-turn, so I made one part of the U-turn and I start backing up, and all of a sudden there's a car behind me. And years later, in hindsight, I think it was a setup because, anyway, I punched a hole in the door because the Winnebago has a big metal bumper on it, a big square steel bumper, and this guy wedged in right behind me as I was backing up, and the bumper went right into his door and made this big square hole in the door of the car. And they start screaming and yelling, and I pull the van out of the car and pull it over, and these guys came out yelling at us, and it was just me and Tony in the bus, and these three macho guys yelling at us and looking at this hole in the car. And then later I remember that the trunk was tied shut with a string, and one of the windows was broken. It was like an old junker, and I think they were out doing this on purpose, looking for accidents to
trying to get
threaten
money out of
people and get money out of people. And of course we didn't have any money, and luckily, because they came back, and one guy had like a tire iron or something and hit Tony, and Tony came running back to the bus. I had gotten back on the bus to look for the papers or something. Tony came running back, Bob, get the gun, because we didn't have a gun, but he was like trying to scare them off. And at that point, the band had been refused admission into the club by being so drunk or whatever.
The club that they were playing?
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
This was after where they were playing. We played at a Catholic girls' high school gym that night. After when a band is on, they take any gig you can get. And we actually did play this Catholic girls' high school gymnasium, and then we went down to the Combat Zone to have some drinks because that kind of show is, the Catholic school show is over early.
Right.
And anyway, they wouldn't let the band in. Luckily for me, because they came around the corner following us, and Elwood used to carry this attaché case, but it was made by Anvil that makes all the, traveling cases for bands, and so it was a seriously heavy, with steel corners, and he would use it as a weapon. He came running down the street, swinging his Anvil case over his head, and the band running behind him, yelling, and so the guys got, calmed down, and they didn't beat us up, and
they whacked your friend with a tire iron.
Yeah, Tony he's got a hard head.
Yeah.
He survived. But that was a scary night. And then I think we parked the bus in a lot, and as I pulled out of the lot, I went over the curb because I didn't see where the cut was, and it hit the bottom of the bus and apparently broke the tank for the toilet. And
so you didn't have a toilet for the rest of the time. Leaked
all the way back to when I returned it. We had to pay a bunch of money extra for that. But that wasn't as bad as when I wasn't there with them in Ohio. I had flown home for a day for a job I had to do. And they were driving down a highway in Ohio and had stopped. Because Elwood had gone to clean or do something, fix the bathrooms, and it has pressure in it. You have to put pressure in the tank to make the toilet work on a Winnebago. And he had put it in the wrong place or something. So when somebody flushed the toilet, it was coming up inside. And they pulled over, and they went to open a valve to let the pressure off, and basically squirted the whole tank of, waste from the toilet across a 4-lane highway. These cars are coming by and hitting this, and it's spraying, and of course, within 30 seconds a cop car pulled up and pulled over, like, what are you doing? And even back then, this was an environmental major thing you did wrong, covering a highway with crap, and it turned out, some of these things happened, that the cop was like the drummer or a member of, I think, the band Ohio Express, or one of those bands from the 60s.
Yeah.
And after the band broke up, he became a cop. And he said, I've been on the road. I understand. I'm going to let you guys go. And he let him go, yeah.
I mean, it's weird how you and that those kinds of things happen on the road all the time. Weird coincidences.
Oh,